All right. So what is up, everybody? Reese here with CXO Works and the CX Cult. I've got a good longtime friend of mine on here today that I'm going to call the Chief Vibe Officer. I know he has an official title we'll get to here in a little bit, but that's how I'm going to recognize him. But we've got some really cool topics that we're going to walk through today for what he's doing inside of the customer journey. So if you've tuned in before, this is kind of how the format is: 2 minutes of the intro, and then we go 5 minutes on each section of that. And I'm going to ask some questions of Jason, and he's going to tell me what they're doing to for that relentless pursuit of ridiculous delight. So,
Hmm.
Jason, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. 2 minute clock is on. Tell me what you've got going on, and then we'll jump into each segment.
All right. Well, my name is Jason Sheffield, and my official title, although I have said my Chief Vibe Officer is my ultimate title that I would desire. So thank you for that, Reese. But it's actually Business Development Wizard. And I work for a company called SavvionHQ, and we do fractional HR and accounting for small businesses. The one thing we've learned along the way is that most small business owners are horrible at those two things: managing their people and managing their money. And frankly, they didn't get into business to do those two things. They're highly specialized. They require often certifications or degrees to do it successfully. And most small business owners know they need help there. So we've designed systems, memberships, where people come on and we are able to step in and provide kind of whatever they need, right size it. So we have some clients that have 3 employees, and we have some clients that have 200. So we can kind of come fit in there depending on what's needed, what the company desires are. And frankly, it's also a lot cheaper to bring on a fractional member to your team than to go out and hire a very specialized individual to do this. Now, some companies need it at some point, and our goal is to help companies grow to that point where they can fire us, frankly. And we talk about that end in mind often with our clients. Is like, hey, like our goal is, yeah, like you don't need us forever, and we want to get you there. Now, some of you might decide you only want to be at 50, and great, then you'll never need to pay for that more expensive thing, and you'll have things taken care of in the back office. So that's mainly our focus. That said, we are a reputation first company. That is our lead foot when it comes to marketing. That is how our name gets out there. That is how we grow. And we've been at it for over 8 years. I've been with the company for over a year now, and excited to dive in on the cool stuff that we're doing.
I love that. And my favorite part is we want to help you grow, so you have to fire us. I've never
Mm.
heard a company put it like that. That that's perfect. Well said when you're talking about being able to scale. All right, so let's jump into the first. Oh wow, the beautiful music that comes on
Oh,
too when you do that.
walk me off stage.
I know. Holy cow. I'll have to change that. So talk about awareness. You talked about
Mm.
your reputation driven. How do people become aware of your brand? Not just marketing, but how do they know about you? So let's start there.
Yeah, so I would say most people are coming through reputation, word of mouth, because here's the thing. And this is an edge. I'll kind of lay it all out of where we're trying to grow and where we're developing as a company. Right now, we have been in a very reactive type of positioning where when you have a major issue with your money or you have a major issue with your staff, all of a sudden you're like, oh, dang, I need help. And then you're reaching out and calling us to come in and fix a mess. And then you're going to continue on working with us to make sure that we mitigate that. It's a lot like insurance in many ways, right? Nobody wants it until they realize they need it.
Yep.
And so, because of that, we have found that our greatest kind of first marketing effort is just simply through our referrals and who we're in relationship with. So, we have some beautiful referral partners that are lawyers in town, bankers, the type of people they're going to capture that type of crisis effectively. And then they're not necessarily positioned to handle it all the way. And so we're there to say, great, you need to call the guys over at Savvion. They're going to take great care of you guys and be able to move on. So that's kind of the first piece is we capture that people that are in some crisis. The
Okay.
next piece is we do a lot of work with our local chambers, our local small business development community. And so we're really there at the beginning for a lot of companies because it's like, hey, you don't want to get to that point where you have a crisis. You want to be able to mitigate a lot of that. And by just some very simple practices, some simple things that we can do, we can really help you get there. So I'd say that's the kind of two things. The third thing is your owner that just realizes, I hate doing the books. I hate doing the money. I hate my taxes. I don't want to be giving the government more money than I should. What strategies, what things can I put into place to be able to handle that appropriately? So when people are a little bit more proactive, I would say on the accounting, they're more proactive. On the people management, they're a little less proactive. And again, simply through our reputation and through our word of mouth and just being involved through a lot of various small business networking events, we are just known.
Yeah. And I would say I want to dig into that too, because I'm a firm believer in like that community involvement piece when it comes
Hmm.
to awareness. So being involved with the chamber, because a lot of those people you're going to meet may just be like grand opening their business. It may just be
Hmm.
like solo operators to start with. And you're not necessarily going to sign them up as a client, but they can be aware that, hey, as I scale, this is the option I need to layer on before, like you said, before it becomes a nightmare situation and then they're working backwards. So tell me a little bit more on the community involvement with the chamber and those networking events. Like, what are y'all doing currently?
Yeah, so right now, our chief problem solver, Rihanna Warner, who's one of the founders of the company, she volunteers with the SBDC and does consults for all small business owners. So they can come in and get a free up to 2 hours with her of consulting to provide insight and perspective. And that's been like a great way of leading people in because they kind of get aware to all everything, and then they realize, oh, dang, again, it always comes down to sweat, check equity, right? And
Yep.
so it's all those things like, hey, is this something you want to put the sweat into, setting up your finances, setting up your HR, or do you just want to write a check and have that thing kind of taken care of for you so you're not stressed about it? And frankly, sleeping better at night, right? So one of our brand promises is that we want to give you peace of mind so you sleep better at night, and really driving that for small business owners. So it kind of just is, yeah, that's, I would say, community involvement. And then it's just a lot of the networking, man. The Better Business Bureau we're deeply involved with. Everybody's throwing events. And so frankly, it's just a matter of showing up to those events consistently. The first few times you're not going to know anyone. And I preach these things for years on how to go out and do this. Over the last year, I've had to be doing it. So I've been going to these networking meetings. Nobody knows who I am. And then the third networking meeting, meeting somebody and then closing a deal down. I went to one networking meeting that was just called Mindfulness Mornings. We did like meditation together and talked about kind of conscious things. It wasn't even really necessarily business related.
Yep.
I met someone, signed them up, and then they just brought me probably my third largest deal that I've closed in the last 6 months through a referral that I met at that event. So it's just getting out there and showing up.
All right. So right there, there's our CX experience moment. Is it wasn't just go to the local bar, everybody has drinks and talks about their day and everything. You actually had an activity that went along with it, which I know you love that
Mhm.
kind of stuff as it is. So not only did you meet like-minded business people, but you met people that actually have an interest in your hobbies at the same time. So you're creating like a community within a community.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I love when it comes to CX and stuff like that. All right, so that was awareness. People are figuring out who you are.
I love this song, by the way. Keep this. I love the song. It's amazing.
The walk off song. All right, so second level is after they're aware of your brand. Now they're going to consider working with you, and I know you kind of talked a little bit about it,
Mhm.
where you're sitting down, the co-founder of the company sitting down with those 2 hour consultations. What other elements does Savvion have when somebody is considering, do I need to work with this company, or is it something that I need to wait? Like, what does that journey look like?
So that's really the junior journey as the business development wizard that I own is the consideration phase. So that's where I'm taking them through my defined sales journey. And really, it's kind of that traditional two-step process of discovery work, sitting down, really understanding where they're at. I make sure that in that discovery work, I'm also vetting them. We're a boutique service. So that's kind of the other piece of this thing is it's not we're not the cheapest that's out there. So if people are going to work with us, they've got to be typically doing at least 750,000 or more in annual revenue for it to make sense. We can work with people that are lower, but again, setting those benchmarks, which is always the hardest part in a business, is like who's the ideal client. So for us, it's 10 employees with doing 1 million or more in revenue is probably going to be prime for our services. Now we can start earlier, and obviously we can come in later. But that's kind of the ideal that we're driving to. So that's the first thing I'm vetting in the discovery work. I'm understanding the problems, I'm understanding the pain points, and then I'm taking them through the various things. Sometimes people might need to start with a consultation, especially on the HR side of things. You know, they're not ready to fully jump in, but they just want some time with Rihanna as that professional. And so they might pay $250 for just an hour with her to solve a specific problem. And then through that problem, I can then come in and, you know, rope that into a membership, right? We can turn that into an offer and take that 250 and put it into, hey, now this will go towards your annual membership with us. So we go through that discovery work. I'm asking a lot of those questions, understanding, making sure that we're a right fit for them. That's really my angle, is not are they a right fit for us, but are we right for them? And then if that all kind of goes through, then we do consultation work. I would say probably like 95% of our clients are local right now. We are available to work with people anywhere in the country, but because we've been so focused in our local neighborhood and then the downtown community, that's a lot of who we service. So we're doing face-to-face meetings. It's a really key thing, is we love, like, one of our core values is hospitality. So when you walk in the front door for that consultation meeting, you're being greeted by our front desk, you're being offered a drink, you're being offered a snack if you want it, coffee, tea, soda, sparkling water. We like have the whole gamut. And then in that consultation, we sit down and I have kind of my proposal. It's like a website that's very keen. It looks beautiful. I think that's a big piece of the experience, is how do you display your value? So walk people through kind of that whole thing of teeing up what our core values are, who we are, why we believe in fractional as a model, re-identify our key problems, talk about what our solutions are going to be, talk investment. And right now, I'd say my close time, I'm typically getting people to close down within 7 days of that meeting. So within a week of consultation, they're closing down. And that's after the first time they're seeing that price tag. Now, in my discovery work, I always tell them ballpark of what to expect. I don't want somebody walking in with sticker shock. So if they're going to see, you know, 15 grand or 20 grand for all of our services, and that's not right in their budget, that's great. The value is that I get to offer in that consultation work is ROI, because every investment that you make on people and money is going to have a return. And that's our mindset, is if we can't offer an ROI to our services, then we should be out of business. So we're having that conversation to say, look at this from an ROI perspective, and does that feel right? So
I think Hormozy was talking about that, you know, as we're talking about CX Cold on school. He was like, business owners don't buy off price, they buy off ROI. So if
mhm,
you can't provide the ROI, there's no point. The other thing you mentioned in there that I think is unique too from a customer experience standpoint, because I would feel the same way, is I'm going to come in and I don't even know exactly what I need. Like, I
mhm,
know that, like, what the end result should look like, and that end result is less friction, but I don't know what happens in there. So then the third piece is where you bring somebody in, because a lot of local clients, and they're getting a very, almost a therapy type of an
mhm,
appointment when they come in, warm and welcoming, because that's what they're going to be able to open up, to your point, get the discovery information that you need to say, okay, here's what you have going on, here's where you want to get to, here's how Savvion can integrate itself to help you get to that point. And I think those are all just kind of work together. You can't have one without the other. I mean, you could have a beautiful entrance and come in, but if you're not having a good solve, it doesn't
mhm.
matter. You're just fluff at the front door.
Totally. And I'll say, like, the one thing too is we're asking people to get vulnerable, because when you're talking about how you've managed your employees, you probably haven't done a great job of that as an owner. We've all screwed it up. And the second thing is you haven't managed your book super well. No, I want to say this point.
Yeah, go. No,
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 I'm
go ahead.
joking. But like, you don't manage your books well. And so
Yeah,
if you don't manage your books well, that's a vulnerable thing. So when people come in for a consultation, it's like, hey, the more honest you are, the better we're going to be at serving you. But if you don't
yeah,
tell us everything, we can't help you.
yeah. Totally. That's you got to open up the entire book again, and it's kind of, you know, funny when we talk about HR and everything. They need to
Mhm.
know everything so you can provide the best outcome. So now I've come in to the office. Our next stage in the customer journey is, all right, Jason, I love you. You're my vibe. You're the
Mhm.
wizard. I want to work with Savvion. What do you guys do when somebody says, I want to be your partner? Tell me about the customer journey and the customer experience that you're providing once they make that decision.
Yeah. So this first thing is huge, is having a dedicated person that owns this process. And that is one of my coworkers that I work with. Her name is Megan. And when we came in, she necessarily wasn't in this position. She was in a little bit more of an administrative position. She was doing some light kind of CX work, but not full time. And so as we were building everything, that was one of the first things that I brought into the team, said, hey, we need a dedicated person in this position. So that's the first and foremost thing. Is like, this can't be a shared, it can't be shared. It's hard. It's really helpful if you have one person that owns it. So Megan owns the onboarding process. We have our internal systems just to make sure communication is flowing. So people know when proposals are getting signed, service agreements are going out, payment is being secured, kind of the nitty gritty. But that's really important because that reduces the friction for the client. So lots of communication is happening kind of in that window. After that, Megan is scheduling the first onboarding meeting and she owns the entire flow. Right now, our onboarding can take between 60 and 90 days because of getting into the books, because of understanding the elements of HR. One of our brand promises is that we're going to reduce chaos in 90 days or less. And so we're coming in, and in those first 90 days, we're scheduling things like audits and employee handbooks being written and turned out. We're doing cleanup in the books. I mean, there's all sorts of projects that are going to happen, and it can get kind of confusing for a small business owner to come in and be like, oh, wow, like this is a lot of change management as well, especially on the HR side of things. So we're guiding them through that process. Megan also uses a piece of software that shows people a roadmap of exactly everything that we're going to be doing. We've road mapped out the milestones. So we have a 30-day milestone, a 60-day milestone, a 90-day milestone. She's communicating with them. She has meetings through all of that so that they're very clear. We create the right funnels of communication because, you have your HR person and then you have your payroll person and then you have your accountant. Those are three different relationships that you're going to have with us. And that all has to funnel through effectively Megan to kind of help manage that in the beginning. So it's kind of a heavy lift to get people comfortable and really onboarded well. So that's why we developed the roadmap. That's why we developed the milestones. That's all getting put into a software so they can see it. So when they log into a portal, they'll see where they're at in their milestones. That's in development. We should be rolling that out next quarter, which we're excited about. And then finally, we have gifts along the way. So we have a surprise and delight gift right off the bat, which is a confetti video that we recorded as a team that has everybody standing. And we say, kind of our welcome. And then we pop off these confetti cannons and it shoots up and it's just silly and fun. But that video goes out welcoming them right off the bat. And then after that, at the end of their engagement, the business owners or decision makers receive a gift. That's a very thoughtful, intentional. We have about $100 budget set to our gifts for each person that's going to come in, and the Megan owns the delivery of that gift because she's gotten to know them. So we have gotten really good at giving personalized, fun gifts. I mean, things like Yeti mugs that have like personalized things on them. My children gave me this, but this is an example of something that we've done. We've given off like custom signs. We gift giving, giftology,
Love
that
that.
whole method is
Yeah.
something we have deeply prescribed and put systems around. So at the end of onboarding, we're giving them a gift. In that process, we're also asking for reviews, right? So we have that 30-day review, kind of, hey, are you happy? Leave us a 5-star review on Google. And then later on, we're driving deeper testimonials. And then ultimately, right now, we have 3 core testimonials from our clients. And then we'll be building that as we continue to grow under our new brand of Savvion, where we're pumping out customer testimonials.
So there's so much there. Holy cow, that was this. I
Uh,
could tell this is where your jam's at. So they purchased the one thing I love that you said is a single point of contact because you're not just transferring paperwork, right? We're
mhm.
transferring trust down
Yeah.
that customer journey, and then you've got to take that seriously. That first 90 days is so important for any customer, any business.
Hmm.
The second thing that you said inside of there was the visualizing a customer roadmap. I always think of the Domino's pizza tracker
Hmm.
every time somebody talks about this, where you can visually see where it's at. And it creates this buy-in with people to see where they're at and targets versus just here's a Word document that we're going to go through. And then the third thing, gift giving. Oh my gosh, personalized gift giving goes so far. People
Hmm.
miss this step so often because it shows that you're actually listening to them. It's not just a one-off gift. It's something that means a lot to them.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, that was right on cue with our music. Man, that was good timing.
It's
All right.
epic.
So they've purchased. Now you got them through the first 90 days. What does service look like? Like, how does that ongoing customer experience working with Savvion look like?
Mhm.
I know you talked about in purchase, it can be overwhelming for a business owner getting all of this done. Like they went from just kind of fly by the seat of their pants
Mhm.
to an organized structure. So it can feel like a lot. But ideally, what you guys are doing is setting their company up to scale internally as much as it is externally. So you can attract the right talent, provide the right resources, and give them everything they need. So talk to me about service with Savvion. What do you guys do?
Yeah, so I mean that's going to be the point where we are there to effectively respond. So I mean, again, we have four key product lines. We have tax services, we have accounting, bookkeeping, we have payroll, and we have HR. So that's another piece when clients work with us, they could be kind of very siloed. They might just be tax, and all we're doing is tax strategy, tax execution, tax implementation. And so we might only see those clients 3, 4 times a year for a
Yeah.
kind of a quarterly tax strategy session. And then obviously when tax time comes around, we're executing on it. We want to expand those opportunities to then open up, accounting or payroll or HR. So it depends on which segment you're in and how you're going to interact with us, which is kind of the fun part from a customer journey standpoint, having to set up 4 different kind of roads. And then some clients have all four. So they got the whole stack of services. So it's going to be a little bit different. And that's the thing that I love. And this is a Gary V, scaling the unscalable. We don't have a single roadmap for our clients. We have principles that we're going to guide and take us through whatever the services are that we're delivering for them. So, but a more active client, someone that's maybe HR or payroll, we're in their business. We truly are a fractional team member. So if it's HR, that means, we're helping hire and fire and we're helping handle, the various situations that are coming up. We're answering the questions that owners might have. We have an HR hotline. So, team members are calling us if there's an issue internally instead of talking to anyone at the company. And then if we're rolling that up to the owners, payroll is payroll, man. We're running payroll. We're handling all the things with it, taking that time and energy off of, the average business owner can spend 15 to 20 hours a month just on payroll. And that's just time wasted. You don't get that time back as an owner. So that's a big ROI factor for us on the payroll front is we're giving you your time back on getting that. And then, the other piece is just the community or the tribe, if you will. So once you come in, you're now part of the Savvion family. You're part of what goes on around here. So, we've launched a AI meetup called The Shift, where we're talking about how AI is impacting our companies, what we see coming. So that's open to our community members. They can come into our offices and rent out any of our conference rooms to be able to leverage those or trainings. We have all sorts of ways we can deepen the relationship with their staff, employee engagement surveys, DISC test assessments, all sorts of things to really ingrain ourselves and elevate the staff on that front. So once you come in, it's like, and you get through those first 90 days and it's a little bit chaotic and some of the change management, and, we're maybe recommending like, hey, you haven't had people sign your I-9s when they got hired. That's really important. We need to do that. So simple like system changes are
Yeah.
getting implemented. New SOPs are coming out that we got to kind of get everybody. And it takes a little bit of time. And that's why that initial meeting and the roadmap and those milestones is agreed upon, right? So it's literally not just us telling them, prescribing a roadmap. Obviously, we are, but we have to have their buy-in because we're going to ask them to make some changes. We're going to ask them to change how they manage, their relationship with their staff or how they're managing their money, frankly, at the end of the day. And there's only so much we can control in that, too.
Yeah. So is it safe to say that the Savvion's not just your partner, but you actually are a culture driver inside these businesses too, especially when it
Oh,
comes to
yeah,
HR stuff? Like, how
totally.
big of a role are y'all playing in that?
It depends on how deep the owner wants to go with us, but we'll go as deep as they want. Like we have brought some significant culture change to places. We work with a nonprofit in town, so that is like the one of the it's called Visit COS. So it's like the tourism center for the city. And like we're deep with their leadership team. We're deep with their customer engagement or their employee engagement. We've helped them make shifts and changes and driving better culture. So we are there as that thought leader because yeah, HR is a lot more than just kind of, the technical elements. It's culture, it's leadership. And a lot of business owners get into this world and, aren't ready to step up and lead that way. So we can
Yeah.
support them on that front as well.
Yeah, because if you have the right culture, they're going to give the right experience to the customers that
Hmm.
you sign up, and then that flywheel kind of keeps turning. So arguably could be the most important part because you can have this
Hmm.
grand vision, but if you can't execute on it, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
All right. Loyalty. One of my favorite parts of the customer journey is like, how do you keep these people with you? And I know we kind of alluded to it with your multiple avenues that
Hmm.
they could go down to how do you integrate. But tell me what loyalty looks like for Savvion, or better yet, what does it the vision long term look like for Jason with it?
So the loyalty piece is, um, our churn is very, very low. And in fact, when I started with the company, it was one of the things that I looked at, right? Being in sales, my job of interviewing the company was, what's your churn rate? How often are you losing companies? Because you don't want to go sell a product
Yeah.
that is losing company or losing clients. So, our churn rate is amazing. It's one of the best in anything that I've been in. It's a service, so it's different than like a SaaS or other things, right? Because once we're ingrained with the company, they don't want to let us go. I mean, we are a team member, and that's kind of one of our selling advantages, is that especially things like the accounting world and payroll, man, every time you lose an employee there, that is such a cost to the company because you have to retrain. All of the cultural things that go into that, all of the understanding of what it is, you lose a lot. And so our angle is, look, when you hire us, you don't have to worry about that continuity. We're here. You don't have to worry about somebody calling in sick and payroll being
Yeah.
late. We're here. So that drives deep loyalty in our services. And frankly, for us, again, like I said at the top of our conversation, loyalty is until you don't need us. And we all agree that we are either too small for you, you've grown, or you need to now make this hire internally. And in fact, we're going to help you write that job description. We're going to help you hire that person and effectively remove ourselves from the organization in the healthiest, cleanest way possible so that you're successful. Our key tagline is our passion is making your passion more profitable. And so that would be kind of our USP, if you will. So whatever that looks like, that's what we're driving to. And we want to lead them in that way. The other piece of loyalty that I found, it kind of coming back to the top of that acquisition piece, is the networking. So these small business owners, we're all involved in very similar networks. And so when there's loyalty that I see that person at the same event, or I see them and I can celebrate them and what they're doing, it drives a deeper sense of community. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, you guys work with Savvion? It's like, yeah, we work with Savvion. You don't work with Savvion? No, not yet. Who's Savvion? And so that's kind of a big piece that drives that loyalty at the end of the day. And frankly, we just ingrained ourselves so deeply in a business that we kind of become irreplaceable until you want to hire somebody internally. Because we've delivered such an incredible customer experience. We've removed a lot of the friction where things tend to be friction. And it's still TBD, right? We're still kind of like in this flow with it. But so far, it's been really cool to see the adoption rate of our clients.
I will tell you, you just like tickled the CX nerd inside of me. Like you took what was most people look at as a customer journey as an end to end, right? You have a start and you have a beginning. But what you just talked about, like looping it back around and starting it all over, that's perfect. In the Jeep world that I'm involved in, there's this big thing around products called brand ambassadors, where they use a
Mhm.
product and then they basically go promote for you. And I was like, why are service based industries not doing the same? And what
Mhm.
you just described is a true brand ambassador, that you do a good enough job and you take care of that customer journey throughout every single moment, create Easter egg moments that they're so happy and delighted with all of the services that you provided. You've removed all the pain points. They can't help but to go tell somebody else because they're
Mhm.
proud to be a part of your cult, your culture.
Mhm.
They want other people in their community, in their network to come join them. So it's this really cool cycle. So I'm so glad that you said that because it sounds like it's happening naturally.
It is. And I will say, this is one of the hardest cycles I've ever had to build. Like, it's
Interesting.
so easy to get on here and in 5 minutes talk about this stuff. When it comes to the execution, it's slow. People are ignoring you. You send gifts out all day long and you don't hear thank yous.
Yeah.
Like, there's that other side of this
Yeah.
conversation that, like, this stuff is so right, but you have to have a conviction that you believe this is the way business should be done, and you have to commit to it 100%. And then you have to be willing for it to take the time that it takes. And things pop off, and you can have a six-figure week where all of a sudden awesome deals come in and close, but you might have gone 6 weeks without a deal closing. And
Yeah.
again, there's all sorts of angles of what you can look at and lead generation and kind of sifting that out. But I found when you go all in on this type of business and this type of lead foot in your marketing, now there's other things we're doing, but this lead foot, it's hard and it's often thankless in many ways.
Yeah. And I would say like consistency. You have to be consistent, whether it's a good week, bad week. If you're obsessed with a customer experience, you do it obsessively for long enough that it's just going to keep
Yes.
firing. And I think that's what you've done your entire career, as long as I've known you, is you just be consistent and be who you are and obsessively focus on that customer experience. You're going to get things that come back around to you.
It is. And that's the thing is it's so worth it. It's so hard to rip off that band-aid of like lead gen and digital marketing and kind of all of that other stuff, which great, you can do that and you can have that as a supplemental element of your business. But when you lead your business in this way, it shifts so much and it is such a better way to do business. And I hold the conviction that this is the future of business is relationships and community and customer experience, but it's hard. And I think
Yeah.
that's the piece that a lot of owners need to be committed to, which I
Yeah.
love that you're developing the space to be committed and to get the rah rah when you're like, man, I sent out a $300 gift and nobody said anything. Is this
Yeah.
worth it?
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think CX and the way I view it is it's more of a mindset. You can't just say that, I'm going to go hire a marketing company, flip $5,000 over to them, and I'm going to get customers walk in tomorrow. That's
Yeah.
not what CX design businesses are going to do. The CX businesses are going to be looking at every element constantly, both the employee side and the customer side, and layer on those elements so that they create more and more brand ambassadors through the services that they're providing. And exactly what you said, we put people inside of the CX cult on school is so that way you're surrounded by those
Mhm.
individuals. We're all cheerleaders for each other. So it's like, hey, don't worry about it. That one thing didn't work. Keep doing this consistently. Or you have an automotive industry that here's what an HR industry is doing. They're like, oh, we should do that exact same thing. And you can pull
Mhm.
those ideas versus being captured in an industry bubble, is what we call it, when you're only hearing what people inside your industry are doing.
Yeah,
That's not how you're going to
absolutely.
blow up a CX experience. Like we have to pull, what Ritz Carlton is doing into real estate. Like there's so
Mm,
many different angles that you can pull. So that's what the CX cult is designed to pull those members into.
love it.
So cool, Jason. So if somebody, because we're going to post this up, it'll be on the YouTube video, hopefully,
Cool.
helping you guys out too. And I know this is not the end point for y'all's customer experience. There is no finish line. It's always going to be developing. But if somebody wants to get in touch with you and learn a bit more about what you do, how do they find you?
Yeah, you can check us out online at SavvionHQ.com. It's Savvion. It's a combination of Savvy Solutions. So that's where it comes from, Savvion. HQ. So you can check us out online there. You'll find all of our socials. Didn't even talk about our podcast because that's another piece of our customer journey is once you come in, you get to show up on our podcast called Show Me Yours. And Show Me Yours is all about your business failures. We don't want to know about your successes. We want to know where you screwed it up. And so often it's our clients that are coming on and having that conversation. Not all of them, but many of them. So it's an opportunity for them to come in and have that honest conversation. So you can check out previous episodes of that to kind of hear the type of work we've done and how we've supported a lot of our small business owners. And I'd say that's probably the two key ways.
Oh, I love the failure podcast because anybody can talk about their wins. Takes true humility to be able to go say, "Hey, this is where I screwed up, and this is what I learned from it." So I love
Yeah,
that piece. You can also find Jason inside the CX cult.
absolutely.
Talk to him directly. He'll probably jump on some of our Q&As from time to time. So come inside that. If you need information on how to find it, I'll drop it in the link below. But dude, so great catching up with you. So glad everything's going good. I got to get back out to Colorado. I've only been one time, and it was probably the most amazing landscape I've seen. So I got to put it on the list.
Yeah, dude, get back out here. You got a
Sounds good,
place to.
man.
All right.
All
We'll
right.
see ya.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.